our family of 7 set out on an adventure to experience God's creations together. And what better way than to explore all the national parks in the U.S.? After visiting 51 national parks, all of the contiguous states, which means touching, and yes, I had to look that up, we all voted, and here's how our family ranks the national parks. Okay, I don't know who got this monument approved to be a park, but obviously someone who wanted to increase St. Louis, Missouri's tourism. And it worked. There were lots of people visiting Gateway Arch when we visited. We rode up in the arch in a tiny little compartment where I had to remind myself to breathe. But Ezra, our autistic son, sincerely appreciated the tight space and the view. Well, it is pretty awesome.
What do you see? What do you see down there?
And the bonus is it only takes a few hours to cross this place off your bucket list. Here's a national park that protects something that was commercialized so long ago that the buildings that commercialized it are now historic. Honestly, we spent most of our time trying to convince the children that they were having fun and doing a fairly intensive scavenger hunt inside an old, somewhat eerie building where rich people would hang out and take baths. Hot Springs National Park. There's a little spot of green that you can enjoy behind the bathhouses. It's called the Promenade. Don't miss it. It's really cute. And there are some hikes of wilderness by Hot Springs Mountain. But the most fun we had was actually when we dipped our feet in Happy Hollow Spring, which ironically isn't even a hot spring. So I somewhat annoyingly left the background audio in the next clip so you can get a taste of how city this park really is. It's a nice little haven in the middle of a city.
Yeah. It's weird. One of the coolest things about Hot Springs National Park is the fact that the water there is so old. This one right here was rain at the time of the ancient Egyptians building the pyramids.
All right, here's a desert with underwhelming views of boring mountains. I am certain that geologists and archaeologists will disagree with our choice to put this national park so low in the ranking. There are some very unique geological formations since these desert mountains used to be underwater, but the untrained eye and 5 kids, which we have, don't really appreciate that. Our most memorable experience was hiking to an old house with rocking chairs. Seriously though, if you visit Guadalupe Mountains, hike the McKittrick Canyon Trail and stop at the Old Pratt Lodge and sit in one of those rocking chairs. Pretend like you lived a long time ago and just look over the Guadalupe Mountains and take a deep breath. It'll probably be the most memorable thing you do there. The next one is often called a Little Yellowstone, and it's full of diversity. It's got forest, mountain, rivers, waterfalls, geysers, hot springs, and a wide array of wildlife. Lassen National Park is often forgotten, but it's worth going to. It's not as huge as Yellowstone or Glacier, but it does have its perks. But make sure to go the right time of year. In the winter, you'll be extremely limited to where you can go because of all the snow. And in the summer, it may be on fire. I mean that literally. Don't make the same mistake that our family did one summer. And we got our national park's passport stamped and a family picture of the sign really quick, and then we were promptly escorted out of the park because it was on fire. You can tell how much I love these national parks. I'm already telling you you should go even at the bottom of the list. This next national park is a not so widely known canyon. It's often paired with another more famous national park known for its huge trees. Have you guessed it? Kings Canyon is right by Sequoia and also closed in the winter and very hot in the summer. And when you're here, don't forget to take a picture under this rock because it's just so cool. But seriously, Kings Canyon, don't miss it. If you're here visiting the legendary Sequoia trees, take some time to explore Kings Canyon. There are some hidden gems at this place. Kings Canyon's neighbor is more widely known, but our family rated it just above King Canyon. The Sequoia trees are a bit of a wonder. You really have to experience them for yourself, up close. It's unbelievable how huge they are. To walk among these giants is a humbling feeling.
So you can climb through the tree, huh?
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's like a cave.
that's cool.
Even though it's in California, it gets a quite a bit of snow in the winter, so be aware of the weather when you visit. This is what the visitor center looked like when we got there. The sequoia trees are remarkable, even if you just have a few hours to walk to General Grant tree. Apparently some famous president or something said it's our Christmas tree. I don't know, but it has a sign. If you have time, though, to really hike deep into this forest of giants, you'll find yourself feeling very small.
We made it out. It was cool. It was like a cave, except we were inside a tree. It's nice phone.
So this park's name does it justice. We saw low resting fog almost everywhere we looked. The Great Smoky Mountains. Surprised it's so low on our list? Well, we'll tell you why. We did have fun at this park. We enjoyed the scenic drive around Cades Cove, and we stopped at historic churches and farms. And Smoky Mountains does have some amazing hikes, like Klingman's Dome and Chimney Tops. And my kids didn't mind the fact that we got rained on so hard that an umbrella didn't even help. And we went in the summer, guys. But be aware, be very aware, and I warn you about this park now. Just in the year 2021, there were 14 million visitors. That's the busiest park, like by far. The runner-up being Zion, only getting 5 million in 2021. Now, we did like this park, you know, the part that we saw, but everywhere we went, there were so many people, and it was hard to park anywhere. In the description below, we have a list of links of all the national parks to help you experience God's creations and not make the same mistakes we did. One of the coolest places to visit is just outside the park. Mingy Falls is truly magical. Our next park is simple, small but unique, protecting a rare cacti that can grow so big and so old that some that we saw were estimated to be over 200 years old. Saguaro National Park. There's actually 2 separate sections of this park on either side of Tucson, Arizona. We explored both with the kids, and its uniqueness and simple charm won us over. It's a small park, doesn't take too long to experience, but it's one you shouldn't miss. There's really nothing else like it. We hiked through this surprisingly green desert to see some cool petroglyphs and managed to keep our kids from touching the cacti. Well, most of them. Marie ran into a cactus, but
it didn't really hurt that bad. It wasn't like one of those huge pokey ones. They're just like that.
It was one of
those.
It
doesn't look pokey, but it is pokey. They have tiny reddish orange things. That's funny.
This one I have mixed feelings about because I really do like it. It has some amazing hikes and views if you're serious and avid hiker. About 10 to 12 miles is our limit, and that's pushing it. But to see the best of the park, you really have to commit and go in deep. This is a place to go if you like spending days backpacking through some of the most amazing mountains in the U.S. North Cascades. We walked your boardwalks, and we saw the overlooks over Diablo Lake, that majestic green lake of yours. And we dipped in Ross Lake for a time. Oh, and my husband rescued someone's dog.
All right, there you go, pup.
Our family loves caves, so the caves have some pretty high spots. This cave in particular is known for its boxwork. This is boxwork. And we spent hours following the tour guide through this windy, dark traverse cavern. We had quite the adventure in there. I breastfed a baby and changed 2 poopy diapers, but that's in another video. This cave is worth taking a tour through.
In this shallow tropical sea, small creatures lived and died. As they died, their shells piled up on the seafloor, layer upon layer.
Ezra, our autistic son, loves the tight spaces of the caves. He can't stop laughing. He loves being in caves.
These days are fun.
Don't touch. Appreciate the boxwork and make sure to visit Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, and Sylvan Lake while you're in the neighborhood.
Isn't that pretty? I want to go see what's on the other side of those rocks.
Probably more rocks.
This park is the hottest, lowest, and driest place in the U.S., Death Valley National Park. Don't be scared by its name, just bring plenty of water and come in an air-conditioned vehicle and you'll be fine. But just look at how out of this world this park is. If it looks familiar, it's probably because you've seen it in one of these many movies. Yep, Death Valley has hikes that take you through some sand dunes of Tatooine and really make you feel like you're completely on a different planet. There they are. Are you in a cavity of a rock? Something like that. It's a good hiding spot. We had some fun at this national park. It's a small city park with a lot of visitors. But Lake Michigan has been on my bucket list for a long time. I have been so intrigued at how a lake can be so big that it looks and feels like an ocean. Indiana Dunes is a fun beach for making sandcastles, swimming, and hiking the boardwalk. The dunes themselves, we actually weren't supposed to walk on, which makes them super different from white sands and great sand dunes. This park is higher on our list than other people's rankings, I think mainly because we had so much fun there. I'd say it's a family park. And look at that stunning view of Chicago. This is a very unique park, made up of mounds of tiny gypsum crystals. We spent Christmas here and we had a white Christmas. The white sand dunes are beautiful, but they still are just white sand dunes. That's it. There's no nearby beach, rivers, or waterfalls. There are a couple boardwalks, but the wind is unrelentingly strong. As far as activities go, you gotta get creative.
You can go faster.
Oh my gosh, really? I think he's gonna beat you. I think Benson's gonna win. We tried sledding, and that turned out a tad more difficult than expected.
When I go this way,
This was a fun, memorable day, especially visiting in December when we didn't have to deal with the heat. But be careful, you might run into some sandstorms. A relatively small canyon when compared to Grand Canyon or Canyonlands, but it's the only one with such distinct dark designs. Black Canyon of the Gunnison is majestic in its own right, full of wildlife and not full of visitors. Not bad, I'll take it. The Black Canyon of the Gunnison is a marvel, with hikes and a road that take you clear down to the bottom of the canyon, and enough overlooks to keep you busy for an afternoon. And we're here at Warner Point. This is an amazing view right here. What do you think about that? Tired. It was steep. This was a steep one. If you're in Colorado, stop by and stand as close to the edge as you dare and just breathe in that empty space, serene and unforgettable. A smaller park filled with impressive trees and flooding. A lot of flooding, so much that it was actually called swamp. But it's a floodplain. A really pretty one too. Congaree National Park is pretty much an afternoon walk on a boardwalk through green trees. We did enjoy the turtles.
Mom, there's so many turtles. Look at them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We like the education aspect, and I had each child take turns reading the brochure at each numbered designated spot.
The low area you see on both sides of the boardwalk is called the gut.
What'd you say? Did you see something scary or what? Oh, and don't forget to bring your mosquito spray. Now, this place is only a national park because a famous person really liked it. Theodore Roosevelt National Park is named after him, actually. But I happen to really like what this guy did in helping to protect our land, so I'm okay with it. This was the park where we saw the most wildlife right from our car.
Benson, there's one right there, behind the other horses.
Cool. And when I tried to put this park down lower on our list, the kids insisted to put it higher because of two things: the prairie dogs and the cannonballs.
The cannonball? Dad, This is kind of gonna be okay.
No, I want
This one used to be a national river and just recently became a national park, but it's known for its river rafting. New River Gorge. Despite its name, it's actually a very old river. It just made it late on someone's map. Most of the river we rafted down was afloat, but this was our kids' first rafting trip, so we were on the careful side. You can do a 2-day raft, and the guides provide all the food and supplies needed. I'd come back here again. First of all, these are huge, the tallest in North America, and hot. Great Sand Dunes National Park is truly a wonder. We went at the wrong time of day and the wrong season with sandals. It was unbearably hot. But after leaving, going back to the RV and getting closed-toed shoes, we actually had some fun. Look at her go. And when visiting Great Sand Dunes, be sure to hike a neighboring waterfall just outside the park called Zapata Falls. It's a short half-mile magical hike to a 25-foot waterfall. You get to cross through a creek several times, and the kids love this hike.
That's her new home. That's where Marie says is her new home. Nice and cool. Oh man, it's such a difference from the hot sand dunes that we were just at.
This desert protects some of the most unique and expensive geological finds around. Petrified wood. It's created over time under volcanic ash. These pieces that we saw go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's one reason, well, probably the only reason, why the park kicks you out by 5 o'clock. But petrified wood aside, it was fascinating to see what ancient people used the wood for. And the blue Badlands alone are well worth the little hike to see them up close. This is an easy one-day park, but don't forget to get a good long view of that painted desert.
Look at this! Look how awesome it is! It's like a perfect heart.
That's amazing.
So awesome.
Now we're videoing. He's out.
Before planning this trip and coming to this national park, I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that Nevada had a national park. It does. Great Basin National Park. And this one's truly a treasure. You'll find some of the best stargazing here. They even have a night sky program where you can look through telescopes and really see those stars and planets up close. They have cave tours through Lehman Caves, and they're surprisingly inexpensive, but that's not even the crown jewel of Great Basin. This park is home to the oldest type of tree in the world. Yes, the world. Bristlecone pines are a must-see.
Even though these trees don't look that big at all, some of them are nearly 5,000 years old. And so it's really interesting. They often live like places where most other trees couldn't survive. And they grow so little each year, mostly because a lot of times they don't get very much water in these harsh environments in the mountains of Nevada. And so they look pretty small because some of their rings are so small you can't actually see them. But they are the oldest living things in the world.
Really?
Bristlecone pine trees.
Bristlecone pine trees. Oldest things on. Simon just put something in his mouth. What is that? Get it.
Simon loves rocks. Oh, it's a pretzel. Oh.
Way up north, up by Canada, there lives a roadway of water. Lots of it. This national park is made of mostly lakes and islands. Voyagers National Park. This one had some fun history and lots of water to kayak, canoe, and even paddleboard in. This park was fun and it was an adventure. We canoed Black Bay and to Little American Island with a short hike exploring Minnesota's Gold Rush. So we canoed to this island, kind of a rock, and we are eating our sandwiches. And we only tipped over the canoe once.
Mark jumped in and capsized our boat. Great of him.
Abandoned ship!
An island full of thousands of moose? Why wouldn't everyone want to visit this national park? Isle Royale is unique. While staying in Minnesota, we took a boat ride to the island, which is actually in Michigan, and we spent the day there. We had a picnic and hiked a green, lush Wendigo nature walk. There's hiking, camping, fishing, even scuba diving. To be honest, the whole time we were there, I had to be reminded that we weren't on an island in the ocean. Lake Superior is certainly a novel. If you're set on seeing moose, I recommend hiking some of the challenging Minong Ridge. It's 26 miles of pure wilderness, and you're bound to see a moose. This park is big. It literally divides the continent. Well, at least by which way the water flows. Rocky Mountain National Park is a popular one. It's a classic. Colorado is known for these amazing mountains, covered in wildlife and lakes. We hiked to Nymph, Dream, and Emerald Lakes trails. All three were amazing. Spectacular, really. Hiking and experiencing Alberta Falls was pretty great. I guess this continental divide is a big deal, so we took a picture. And I mean, why not? We were there, and it only took a half an hour to find everyone's shoes to get out of the car. The longest known cave in the world. And this park is so famous, it gets so many international visitors. Mammoth Cave National Park is huge. We took our whole family through 2 cave tours, not as intricate as Carlsbad, but has some pretty cool aspects and some beautiful sections of the cave. The most fun we had was making our way through Fat Man's Misery. A blunt name, but it's true.
It's a little offensive, but this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be great.
Just like imagine like crawling with a little lamp over this.
Imagine you're floating on a cloud and then fell off into a small space.
You're fat, you can go through here.
Okay, well. Finally out of Fat Man's Misery, and there's a restroom. That is closed.
And when you're in Kentucky visiting Mammoth Caves, remember they've got some great fishing in neighboring ponds. We caught this lovely fish at Mountaintop RV Resort.
Mark, turn around.
This park is small, but surprisingly diverse, with green moss-covered volcanic rocks, caves, flying condors above your head, and of course the famous Pinnacle rock formations pointing up to the sky. Pinnacles National Park is a blast, especially since many skip it on their trip to California, so it's usually not too crowded with visitors. The pinnacles aren't especially tall, but their unique shapes make them a sight you don't want to miss. The kids love climbing through and around the rocky terrain. It's quite an adventure. But get to it, it's worth it, even just to get a picture like this. This is the place to go if you hate having to stay on the trail. Even though there are trails in this national park, you are free to go anywhere you want. You're allowed to hike and climb on anything. Be smart and careful, but my kids would say this park is high on their list because of the freedom that they have. Badlands National Park. There's nothing bad about it. These hills are actually called Badlands. I'm guessing someone didn't like them because they were hard to grow, well, impossible to grow any crops on. Bring water. It's a relatively small park. You can definitely see it all in one day. Up on top of the Badlands, we found that the wind will get so strong in between the cracks, it's enough to knock you down if you're not watching for it. But Ezra really likes it. One of the red rock beauties of Utah. It may look like a desert to some, but to others, it's a natural playground. Capitol Reef National Park is not well known, but it made it on our family's 25 spot because mainly my kids like to climb. This video gives a little taste of the adventure that awaits you at Capitol Reef.
Madsen, come here. I'm gonna kind of get it to the position, and then maybe you'll be able to see it. I can see them right there. Oh yeah, I do.
But be careful. The red sand in these Utah parks can be really soft, and I strongly recommend staying on paved roads if you've got a big rig.
Stop!
You
This one I personally would have voted into a higher ranking spot if it weren't for my kids voting so high on all the Utah parks. Cuyahoga is seriously underrated. Cuyahoga has a fun small hike to Blue Hen Falls where the kids climb behind the waterfalls. And we took a scenic train ride which was unique and fun, and I fell in love with the ledges. Anyone who rates Cuyahoga low on their personal rating of national parks probably hasn't hiked ledges or visited Brandywine Falls, just saying. Seriously though, it's so green and magical. If I was filming a movie about being lost in the Amazon rainforest and finding an ancient city, this is where I would film that. On Ledges Trail.
Who knew this was in Ohio?
If you would have dropped me off here, Ohio would be like the last state that I would guess. If you haven't been up close to an alligator, here's your chance. Everglades National Park has a short boardwalk where you're bound to see an alligator resting on the swampland. It honestly made me nervous since we brought along our adventurous 2-year-old, and I barely slept that night before dreaming of him getting snatched and eaten. But it turned out to be perfectly safe. And taking an airboat or paddle boat tour is really the only way to see deep into the Everglades. We almost skipped the boat ride, and I'm so glad we didn't. This is pretty cool. I mean, where else can your kid hold a baby gator?
Yeah, back here. All right. You know, the alligator.
Someone say cheese. Cheese.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Feel good?
All right, are you ready to go back in time and discover an ancient people, culture, tradition, and religion? Welcome to Mesa Verde National Park. I appreciated the park rangers' knowledge. They shared so much about the people who spent their lives building the civilizations that still stand today. My favorite trail was Square House Tower. Longhouse was pretty fun and a lot easier to get to. It was a good family park. And while you're in the neighborhood, you've got to visit Hovenweep National Monument. Don't want to miss out on seeing these when you're so close anyway. This park has an amazing night sky. It's right in the Mojave Desert, and it has the most unique looking tree you'll find anywhere. Joshua Tree National Park is the perfect place for a night hike, which was one of our family's favorite things to do here. We climbed the rocks and counted stars, and the Mojave Desert is a sight to see. So different. Not only the Joshua trees, but the whole landscape entirely. Another fun family park. Bring lots of water. It is a desert. This one shares a border with Mexico, and it is big. It's no surprise it is in Texas. Big Bend is a national park for good reason. The hikes we explored took us along the Rio Grande and up close to the cliffs of Mexico. Walking this landscape feels like you're right in Central America. I felt like I was in a foreign land. And the old hot springs run right into the cold creek, which make it perfect for dipping in the water. The kids love the hot springs in Big Bend, and when you visit, spend at least a few days there. It'll take that long to see it all. This cave, you may not want to leave. There's so much to explore, and you don't have to have a tour guide to take you down. Carlsbad Caverns National Park is our family's favorite cave. Full of intricate formations everywhere you turn. You name it, Carlsbad has it. Stalactites, stalagmites, fossils from the Capitan Reef, ornate and intricate designs. But the really cool thing is the bats. If you go at the right time of year, you can watch the swarm of bats migrate to South America. As a mom of a big family, I deeply appreciate that we didn't have to go with a tour group. We could stay as long as we wanted or leave any time. And I didn't have to wait in line or try to keep up with the crowd. Carlsbad Caverns is honestly the best cave for a family trip. This crystal clear lake is the deepest in the U.S. And when we saw it up close, it didn't even look real. Crater Lake National Park was formed when a volcano imploded and formed a deep hole in the top of the mountain. And years of rain and melted snow formed what we now know as the deepest lake in the U.S. When the snow's melted, there are some nice hikes up to amazing views of Wizard Island. And it's only a couple of miles down to the edge of the water, where you can take a dip in the cold water if you dare. I know our family's biased when it comes to the Utah parks, so now we're getting close to the top of the list. Get ready for them. Canyonlands National Park. The iconic Blue Mountains and the red desert cliffs are the perfect scenery as you hike along jagged boulders along the cliff sides. It's a playground of nature, but be careful. It's a place known for flash flooding and lightning storms. Whoa! Did you guys hear that? Now imagine Miami, Florida, before people came. And you'll get Biscayne National Park. If anyone puts this park low on their list, they haven't been snorkeling. This park is 90-something% underwater. To really experience it, you have to go underneath the water. Horace Albright says, if you have ever stood at Jenny Lake and looked across to Cascade Canyon, weaving its sinuous way toward the summit of the Tetons, you will know the joy of being in a sacred place, designed by God to be protected forever. The Grand Teton holds its own. There's a reason why so many millionaires live in Jackson, Wyoming, to have the Tetons in their own backyard. Our family thoroughly enjoyed hiking around Jenny's Lake. It's a full 10 miles, but you can go halfway to the falls and take a boat ride back, which is what we did. We actually got a big ticket for parking our RV in the wrong spot at this park, so even with that bitter taste in our mouth, it still came up to number 14. That says a lot. Mount Rainier National Park is a wonderland. And it has a Wonderland Trail that takes you 93 miles all over this paradise. We didn't go the full 93 miles, but we went a couple, and it was simply amazing. Mount Rainier is covered in wildflowers and waterfalls. The short walk up to Myrtle Falls was crowded, but once we got on Wonderland Trail, we felt like we had the place to ourselves. There were spots to picnic and grill some lunch. I could keep going back to this national park and never get bored. Bryce Canyon National Park has a magic of its own. Just sit on a bench on an overlook on the rim trail, and it'll take a while to tell your brain what you're really looking at. This rock formation right here is called a hoodoo. It's pretty cool all by itself, but so many inside a canyon that you can't count them all, and you've got Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon is a natural world of Oz, full of wonder, hoodoos, enormous balanced rocks, and colorful cliffs. And let me introduce you to Salt and Pepper and Thor's Hammer. Oh, the sweet green gem of the East. Shenandoah National Park. I recently saw someone rate this pretty low on their rating, and I rolled my eyes and said out loud, they didn't hike Old Rag. I know, it's a weird name for a gorgeous hike.
Dad, look at this. Whoa.
That's way cool.
Shenandoah is a treasure in the fall, summer, and spring, full of wildlife, always green and colorful. Many of you have been here, and all of you have heard about this one. It's the largest canyon in the U.S. Grand Canyon National Park has so many dimensions to it. Arches, hoodoos, red rock, cliffs, the Colorado River, history, and some amazing hikes. When I was young, I thought that I had visited it. I'd gone to the rim and I'd looked down and said, wow, that's huge. Even a mile down into the canyon will give you a whole new perspective that you won't soon forget. We circled the southern rim for a few miles and hiked down the South Kaibab Trail to Cedar Ridge, and then back up again.
Ashley, please take a shortcut.
It's off the trail, baby. This isn't that bad.
It cost me $50.
The only downside is it gets a lot of visitors. It's the 4th most popular national park. And don't feed the squirrels. They will bite you. You shouldn't be feeding wild animals anyway. One of the more difficult ones to visit in the contiguous states, but one you shouldn't miss. Dry Tortugas National Park. We took a boat ride so we could stay longer on the island. The structure on Dry Tortugas Island is to be admired simply because of how old it is and how much work and time it took to build. But interestingly enough, our tour guide said that it was never really used in battle. The coral reef built on the outer wall of the fort on Dry Tortugas is absolutely stunning, and our video doesn't do it justice, but it's a perfect spot to snorkel and to see some colorful coral reef and fish. Now here's a classic, and one I never get tired of. There's truly nowhere like it in the world. Arches National Park. This place has over 2,000 natural rock arches. We hiked to Delicate Arch, which I recommend for the whole family, and to Double Arch. And Fiery Furnace? Well, it's a fun one, but not a typical hike, so bring your water and your courage. This national park is home to the famous huge trees on the west coast of Northern California. Did you guess it? Redwoods National Park was my stomping grounds growing up. I used to imagine dinosaurs would appear from underneath the huge oversized ferns. Redwoods is a family park with a tree you can drive through. It's full of wildlife and a northern rocky shore that will keep your kids busy for hours. If anyone says that the West Parks are better than the East Parks, they haven't been here. Acadia National Park is 7 on our list for a good reason. The hikes along that New England shore are calendar worthy. Bring your bug spray and your camera, but be prepared to be blown away by the beauty of this park. Acadia is located on the coast of an island in Maine where I could honestly live out the rest of my life. We drove up Cadillac Road, full of amazing scenery, and hiked up Bar Island. If you want to hike the famous and intimidating Precipice hike, make sure the trail is open for that season. Sadly, it was closed when we went there because some kind of bird that was important was there or something. Oh well, that'll give us a good excuse to go back again. And when it comes to Acadia, I'll use any excuse I can get. Oh, and the kids love the local food.
It's not gonna eat you, it's dead.
When thinking of the national parks, everyone can remember this one. It's the oldest official national park in the world. It started it all. Yellowstone National Park has almost everything. The only thing it's missing is red rock formations and an ocean. And then it would be perfect. But I guess you can't have everything. Yellowstone is so diverse. You'll need to camp out there for weeks to see it all, even as crowded as it is. It is the 3rd most visited national park. But where else can you see this? Or this? Or the famous Old Faithful? In this national park, you'll feel like you're walking a coastline of Iceland or Ireland, but you're actually in California. Channel Islands National Park. They're not too difficult to get to. Just a 2-hour boat ride, greeted by very friendly dolphins, and you're in a pure magical wilderness. We hiked several hikes that took us to the edge of cliffs along the shoreline of Santa Cruz and learned the history of the island. Channel Islands is one I'd love to go back to again and again and camp for a few nights to really experience it.
Oh, the baby's asleep. He's not even enjoying the fact that we're on a deserted island. We could be the Swiss Family Robinson. We could do it.
Ask any question you have about national parks in the comments and we'll answer it. You could spend years exploring this national park. And you better hurry because the glaciers are melting fast. Glacier National Park. The hikes to the glaciers are gorgeous and eventful. As we hiked St. Mary Falls and Virginia Falls and Hidden Lake Overlook Trail, we saw a mother and baby moose crossing a river. Wake up early for this park as parking is ridiculously packed. And when you take the Going to the Sun Road, bring your camera for that amazing drive. You won't forget it, nor its creative name. We swam in Lake McDonald and stayed there a full week, and I wish I had planned 2 weeks for that park. Is it Half Dome, El Capitan, or Yosemite Falls that makes this park such a celebrity? Probably the combination of them all. Yosemite National Park is a rock climber's playground. But there is so much more there than just scenic drives. There's hikes, lakes, rafting, horseback riding, backpacking, and camping. Yosemite is full of iconic places and also people. It's a popular destination, so plan early because campsites go fast. At sunset, the cliffs look like they're on fire, and the waterfall looks like it's on fire too. We hiked to Mirror Lake, which actually wasn't there because it dries up in the summer. But we couldn't help stand in awe at the spellbound valley and granite cliffs above us. The hike to the amazing view of Yosemite Falls is worth it 10 times over. Only 1 mile round trip. It's a sight to see the water pouring down well over 1,000 feet, the highest waterfall in North America. No other park has what this park has to offer. The longest protected stretch of beach in the world, and 2 rainforests. Olympic National Park. Are you surprised that this is our number 2 in our ranking? Don't be. We love the staircase hikes, Hurricane Ridge, and spent all day at Ruby Beach. We hiked the Hall of Mosses in Hoh Rainforest, and that's a must. We saw amazing things I didn't even know existed. Honestly, I had a difficult time keeping myself and my children on the trail. Each spectacular thing after another, I wanted to see them all close up. Olympic is huge, covering the coast of North Washington's peninsula, and quite a bit of land inland as well.
They did a really good picture with like the sun and with the tree.
Yeah? The sun's just like right there, behind the tree. And now it's the one you've been waiting for. The best national park in the contiguous states, voted by our family. Zion National Park. This is the single best national park out there. In Hebrew, Zion means holy sanctuary. It has Kolob canyons. And it has the Narrows. And it has the 3 emerald pools. And it has Angel's Landing. Zion National Park is truly our family's favorite. The Canyon Overlook Trail is a great family hike. Zion has a special place in our hearts. What do you think about our family's list? How would you rank the parks differently? To watch our family's journey from the beginning, visiting all the national parks, click the playlist here.